Hey everyone, I'm TM Sparrow, writer and homeschooling mom, and today I'm going to tell you about the 5 main elements of a story. Last month I did a video about the differences between plot-driven stories and character-driven stories. This month I want to continue on the topic of story structure because it's something that I love to learn about. I believe that learning about the rules and structures of writing makes us better writers. I don't believe you always have to follow those rules, but knowing them helps you to know when you can bend or break them or otherwise mold them to fit your purposes. So today I want to cover the basic elements of a story. When I begin to craft my outline, I start with a premise that is made up of the 5 elements of a story. These 5 things, character, situation, objective, opponent, and disaster, are in every story. So let's dig a little deeper into this. I'm going to be using some popular stories as examples, so just a heads up if you haven't seen or read Harry Potter or Star Wars. Number 1, character. So, character is essential. I think we all know that. Without a character, there's nothing to move your plot forward, and thus, nothing to write about. Your character doesn't have to be human, and you don't have to follow just one character. Now, there's a lot that goes into character creation and development, but when you're just starting to plan your story, you really only need to know one important detail about your character. So for example, you have Harry Potter, a boy wizard. So you have a name and a detail that's important to the plot. Or we can look at Luke Skywalker, a farm boy. Obviously, Harry is much more than just a boy wizard, and Luke is more than just a farm boy. These are just the important details we need for crafting our premise. Expanding on your character is another part of the process. Number 2. Situation. The situation is where we start to see our plot develop. It's not the setting or the character's everyday life. It's where the characters find themselves after the inciting incident, or whatever new world they enter when they leave their everyday life behind. For Harry Potter, the situation is that he starts to attend a wizard school. For Luke Skywalker, it's that he leaves his home planet to join the rebellion. So you can see we're starting to develop our story, but we're not quite there yet. Number 3, objective. The objective takes our focus back to the character. It's what the character wants. Not necessarily what they need, but their external desire that keeps them moving through the plot. Are they trying to survive? Maybe they're trying to win something. Or maybe they're searching for justice or money or love. Regardless of what it is, your character has to want something badly enough that they keep going after it. Harry Potter just wants to survive and learn magic. Luke Skywalker wants to rescue Leia and become a Jedi. Now, the character's objective may change throughout the story, like how Harry ends up wanting to protect the Sorcerer's Stone, and Luke ends up wanting to stop Vader and the Empire. But, for building the basics of our story, you really only need that first important objective. Number 4, opponent. Conflict, that juicy element that keeps us engaged. There are all kinds of conflict, both internal and external, but for the purposes of our story elements, we really just want to focus on the external conflict that drives the story, and for that we need an opponent. The opponent is the person who stands in the way of our character getting what they want. You can have more than one antagonist in a story, but for the purpose of crafting our premise, you want to focus on the big bad, the main villain. This is pretty easy to spot in most stories. Regina George in Mean Girls, Mother Gothel in Tangled, and so on. In Harry Potter, it's the greatest evil wizard who ever lived, or Voldemort. In Star Wars, it's the Empire, personified by Darth Vader. And number 5, disaster. There will likely be many conflicts and disasters in your story. But out of all of these, which one is the worst possible moment for your character? Which one brings them to their lowest point, the darkest moment? Which one is the climax of the story? Once you have the answer to this question, you have the disaster part of the story premise. For Harry Potter, this is when Voldemort attempts to steal the Sorcerer's Stone so that he can take over the wizarding world. For Luke Skywalker, it's when the Empire is bringing their world-destroying Death Star to attack the Rebel base. So those are the 5 elements of story that I use to craft my story premise. In the end, I usually end up with something like this. When Harry Potter, a boy wizard, begins to attend a wizard school, he just wants to survive the school year and learn magic. But the greatest evil sorcerer to ever live wants to steal the Sorcerer's Stone and take over the wizarding world. Or, when Luke Skywalker, a restless farm boy, leaves his home planet to join the rebellion, he wants to rescue Leia and become a Jedi like his father. But the Empire is bringing their world-destroying Death Star to attack the Rebel base and end the rebellion once and for all. Just a note before I go, there are several different ways to build a story. This is just what works for me. I have seen some people use 6 elements to build a story premise, and these are protagonist, situation, objective, opponent, disaster, and conflict. It works a little differently, but I do like it as well. These are things that every story needs, but how and when you figure them out and how you use them are entirely up to you. I strongly encourage you to do your own research and learn as much as you can about story elements and structure and figure out what's going to work best for you. You can let me know in the comments below what story structure or plot element you would like to learn more about. Or you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. And if you want to see more, then don't forget to subscribe. I post new videos on Sundays. See you next time.
You probably just take a moment and let your brain kind of.
Ow. Ow. There are all kinds of conflict, both internal and external, but for the purposes of our elements, bleh. Obviously, Harry is much more than just a farm boy. No, oh my god. Obviously.
It's much more than just a farm boy. And Luke is much more than just a boy wizard.
Wizard. You're a lizard, Harry.
You're a wizard, Harry.
You're a blizzard wizard, Harry.
You're a blizzard wizard named Eddie Izzard. There you go.
You're a blizzard wizard, Eddie Izzard. Now, there's a lot that goes into character building and development, but when you're just starting to figure out your story, you really only need one important detail about your character.
Did you really just dab?
Yes. I had my arms like this already, so I was like, why not? When I begin to craft my outline, I begin with a... No. Yay! Woo! So last month I did a video on the differences between plot-driven stories... No, that was right. So last month I did a video on... No. Yes. Crap. That started off so good. And then... Clark Kent, Superman.